The most important political institution in ancient Greece was the polis, Polis, which is another way of saying city-state. Now, what's really interesting about the Greek city-states, and about most city-states we'll talk about after this point, is that even though they speak different languages or have different religions, although in the case of Greece, all the Greek city-states spoke the same language and had the same religion. Despite all kinds of differences, though, cultural, social, economic, political, what you'll find is that the basic structure of a Greek city-state, a Greek polis, remains fairly constant. There are basically three components to any Greek polis-style government. First off, there was an assembly of warriors. Second, a council of elders. And third, a group of magistrates or city officials. Now, what's interesting is that these three units, an assembly of warriors who would vote yes or no on major issues, a council of elders who would put questions to the assembly of warriors, and the magistrates who carry out the orders that are voted on by the assembly, while that remains constant from city to city, the actual structure and makeup of those three groups differs widely. I want to look, for example, at the two major city-states in ancient Greece, Athens and Sparta. In Sparta, the most powerful element of the Spartan constitution was the Council of Elders. It literally was a council of elders. Any Spartan citizen who made it to be 65 years or older was put on this council of elders, and they had the right to come up with all the sorts of laws that Sparta would follow. They had to have those laws passed by the Assembly of Warriors, but the Assembly of Warriors was very weak. It really only had the power to vote yes or vote no on an issue. It couldn't debate, it couldn't propose alternatives, it would just say yes or no. Now, in ancient Athens, we find almost the opposite going on. In Athens, the assembly was the most powerful element of the Athenian constitution. The Athenian assembly could not only vote yes or no on issues, it could propose alternatives, it could debate issues, and it did debate issues very loudly. It could even raise entirely new questions that weren't brought to it by the council. In Athens, they did have a council, but it wasn't a council of elders. It was called the Council of the 500. And in one of the weirder features of Athenian politics, the Council of the 500 was randomly selected out of the citizen population. Basically, it was a duty to serve on the Council of 500, and it was sort of randomly assigned, so everybody had a chance to be one of these council members. The same was true of the magistrates. Magistrates in Athens weren't elected, they were selected randomly by lottery, or by lot, as the textbook describes. And this feature means that anybody could be a magistrate, but it also meant that not much power was given to the magistrates, because you wouldn't want to put too much power in the hands of a randomly selected political official. All the real power in Athens lay in the assembly. Now, when you look at this, it's weird because they both have an assembly, a council, and magistrates. But in Sparta, the council is all-powerful and the assembly is very weak, while in Athens, the assembly is all-powerful and the council is very weak. This is the fundamental political difference between Athens and Sparta. Because Athens has a strong assembly, we say that Athens is a democracy. Any political system, any polis with a strong assembly, was a democracy. But for Sparta, we call it an oligarchy, a rule by a few, because the council, which is made up of only a few elderly men, is the one that makes the decisions. In any polis or political system where the council has the power, historians or political scientists would call this an oligarchy. Whenever we look at any polis or city-state, whether it's going to be Greek ones this week, or Roman ones in a few weeks, or even medieval Italian ones towards the end of the semester, we're going to find the same structure of council, assembly, and magistrates. But again, what's important is not that those elements are present, but exactly how they're constituted and how they work together.